Gene, welcome. I'm really excited to have you on today and learn more about you and Freeborn Selections. So let's start from the beginning. What was it like growing up in beautiful Mendocino County?
Man, it's a mixed bag. When I was growing up, it was kind of the middle of nowhere. Not a lot going on. Everywhere around there was kind of like logging towns. Pretty, like a pretty poor county, I would say at that point. And it was cool though because you're in the middle of the woods. You got the river, you got the ocean. The coast is really nice. Down to earth place, but a lot different than it is now. When I was a kid, there was like you had like, you know, loggers and rednecks and dudes running cattle, and then you had like hippies and people growing weed, but it was all real secret, so you didn't really see it except for the few people who you really knew, you were close enough that they were like family, that you knew they were growing weed and stuff. But as far as like how outwardly how it appeared, it was like would be more like what now is more like rural middle America. Just like not a bad place, but different than it is now. I'd say now it's pretty nice. It's not quite on the level of what everyone thinks of as California as being like, like Sonoma County or Monterey or the Bay Area or anything, but it's definitely cleaned up, and it's nicer in a lot of ways. It's a little more access to everything and everything. When I was a kid, it was pretty, I don't know, it was just kind of boring and dry and hot in the summer and not really anything going on. And now, now it feels more like there's stuff happening. But
What are some of your earliest cannabis-related memories, and how do you think they shaped the way you viewed the world while growing up?
I mean, going all the way back to when I was really little, like, I remember living out at this spot on this road called 10 Mile. My mom had a couple plants growing on the porch in the back, and her roommate got in an argument with the landlord. The landlord wound up calling the cops. It's like, it's one of my earliest memories is seeing basically like the cops come and arrest my mom and her roommate when I was like 2.5 or something. And it's a trippy thing, because that was like one of those things that makes you realize like, oh, okay, it's crazy. Like there's a basically my whole young life, you kind of knew like they're kind of out to get you, and not for a good reason, So that's kind of like something I would say definitely colored my perspective of how things were. And then growing up, there was always weed around. People were growing stuff, and it was it's a trippy thing, because now at this point, like, I've fully embraced having cannabis, being involved with it. It's pretty much acceptable everywhere. But growing up, it wasn't really like that at all. So those kind of memories kind of shaped like how I looked at everything as I was growing up. Those kind of like discomfort and anxiety and all that kind of stuff. But then at the same time, like there's the good memories of it too, of like, being in the woods and going to work, maybe going with my mom, like in a couple plants in the bushes, and like there's like a magic of it too, and so that all the different memories from back then are all all said and done come together to make a positive picture. But a lot of it was it's weird, because you look back and you realize it's completely different than what how I see it now. But all said and done, everything worked out to be to be cool with it. But as far as just memories really that shape everything, I mean, you know, there's only so many. Like that's that thing that made my perspective be kind of, you know, a certain way. But
How young were you when you first saw a plant being like pollinated? Were you a kid?
I didn't really see any kind of breeding or anything like that until I was probably more like early teens, you know. And I saw people doing that. I didn't really understand any of that aspect of it, and I wasn't that interested in how all that stuff was because all the way probably until maybe I was about 10 or 11, like it was just always kind of like weed is like the you know, the dirty secret as opposed to being like something good. And then you know, like I wound up smoking some weed, and I read The Emperor Wears No Clothes by Jack Herrera, and after I read that, it kind of like made me realize like, oh, this is cool, you know. So those things, that's like the shift, you know. So you go from like, all right, oh, this is all scary and crazy, and then it turned into you know, like, oh, this plant's really important, and I'm actually lucky to be around it and be in a place where it's the real stuff, you know. So
Yeah, being in the epicenter of.
yeah, and then I think pretty much when I was like 14 or something, started hanging out with my buddy, and they were in a neighborhood I used to hang out in, and he was actually, you know, taken a little pollen from this and put it on that and shared seeds with me. And then I saw, oh, okay, so you took that and you put it with that. And then I started to kind of understand how it worked. And he had marijuana botany. His dad had it like sitting, and I'd be, you know, they'd be doing some chores or something, and they'd be like, oh, you can go ahead and just hang out here. And like, oh, I'll sit and read it. And I start seeing like the science behind breeding and all that kind of stuff. That's all like 14 or 15. And then, you know, from there, it just kind of started to be something that, you know, you could see like the potential, and you see it sounded fun. And so probably like, you know, that's like 94 probably. And that's the first time I saw him, like, oh, I got this plant in the back, and oh, I seeded this branch on it, and then this is going to be this and that, and then it's going to be a mix of them, and, you know, kind of getting the whole idea of how it really was, like seeing it hands on. And then I got seeds like from the first plants I saw somebody really making stuff on. I wound up growing those and making my own stuff from them, you know. So.